this video. This topic for Drew Code Sports Talk is going to be about NBA players resting. Not just resting whenever they want, but resting during nationally televised games. This is my co-host, Cody Johnson. I am the host, Andrew Wright. Cody, should NBA players rest when it's a nationally televised game or not?
So, I think what my big issue with it is this whole resting agenda is now getting kind of out of hand, and it's kind of now going more so in the national level, which is what our question alludes to, and I don't think that they should. In my opinion, I think that they should do a better job at planning rest games. And I get it, injuries are going to happen because earlier today or last night when the Cavs were trying to justify resting LeBron and the other members of the Big Three. And that's just one example because the Golden State Warriors did the same thing, and so did the Spurs on a national televised game just 2 weeks ago. So the Cavs aren't the only ones, that's just the most recent one right now. It was because Kyrie Irving tweaked his knee, Kevin Love was just coming back from a knee injury, LeBron James wanted to play, but Tyronn Lue said no, which anyone listening to Tyronn Lue is kind of funny, especially LeBron James, because he runs the Cavaliers. But anyways, I kind of think that they know the schedule, and they're all smart enough to know where the games are being played on what, national televised thing. In my opinion, they should just probably plan out the resting a little bit better. I don't mind resting. I don't think it's wrong to rest. Popovich is one of these people that does it as a coach for his players, and that's what kept, probably Tim Duncan younger than he probably was, and why Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, are still playing is because they rest throughout the season. But in my opinion, it's just kind of unfair because here we were, at least I was, at home. I've just finished watching the NCAA tournament, and I watched Nova get eliminated, so I was highly upset. Wanted to watch some professional basketball, and then come to find out, the Cavaliers and Clippers are going to play. That sounds interesting. And then come to find out 20 minutes before tip-off, none of the good players are going to play, and it's just the Clippers literally demolishing the Cavs. And I couldn't have not wanted to watch it any less than I already did. And it's just kind of disheartening. Like, I never get to see LeBron James on TV anymore except for highlights. So I'd like to watch an actual televised game, and I don't want to wait till the NBA Finals to do so. So in my opinion, I think they should just plan out the rest better. And probably the other hatchet to that, though, is, if other people are going to get injured to coincide with the resting, I still think that they can do a better job in it. And I think there is a way. I just don't think anybody wants to take the time and plan it out. So anyways, I think that they should do a better job of planning, but it also is kind of funny that we have nowadays basketball where it's supposed to be softer play because the fouls are a little easier to get, and you've got these athletes that are more well trained and more fit now than it was back then, and yet they can't last 82 games, but yet all the players back in like the early 2000s, 90s, kind of what we grew up in, they were able to play 82 games, and God forbid they missed one game because of an injury, and yet you might still see them out there. So that's just kind of my opinion on it.
I'm going to start off by saying it's complete Bolshevik for these athletes to say, well, it's 82 game season, it's really tough, it's really hard. Because back in my day, I saw Michael Jordan play every time there was a Bulls game on. Every time the Lakers played, I saw Kobe Bryant and Shaq.
Yeah.
Every time that you saw Dominique Wilkins back in the day, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
Those are just a few of those names, but I mean, those guys played every day.
Yeah.
They did. So don't tell me that you're dieting like crazy. Don't tell me that you're working out from 3 a.m. to practice time, which I'm assuming is 8 or 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And don't tell me that you can't last long in a game. I think what used to happen back in our day was teams would try and just blow you over.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because the more that they are winning by, so if a team was up by 20, they rested Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
they rested a Scottie Pippen.
Even last year with Golden State, when they were going through their 73-9 season, they're blowing people out by 30 or 40. You know, there was probably maybe you can count on one hand how many times Steph Curry or Klay Thompson or Green and Barnes at the time were even on the floor playing in the third or fourth quarter if they didn't already have the victory in hand because they were out so far ahead.
And it also goes to show, remember when Klay Thompson was making a run at possibly beating Kobe Bryant's record of 81 points in a game. He was at like, what, 63 after the third quarter?
Yeah.
So when the fourth quarter came around, they sat him because they were killing him.
Yeah.
But they decided to sit up, and I thought that was the smart move. I understand why people are upset. Hey, let him get the record.
Yeah.
But listen, it is a long season, and it's a strenuous season. But you can rest guys during the game, and they'll be fine. And I was listening to the Herd, Colin Cowherd, and he was saying, you know, what's funny is, you know, back when John Stockton was first introduced in the league, they were still riding coach in airplanes.
Yeah.
So you and I could have sat next to John Stockton and, you know, have the same flight.
When Barkley, I think, was playing for not Houston, but Phoenix, there was rumors of him flying coach to get to games. It wasn't how it is now where you've got private jets.
Exactly.
You know, cars being up. It's literally catered to nowadays players where they have transportation to get to anywhere they want to in a very fast way. And they don't have to, essentially they can go from the facility to the arena just getting off the runway and not talk to a single person other than their teammate now because that's how efficient they've become. And this is why I left. It's John Stockton, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Shaq, all these players, I don't remember them just sitting for rest. Maybe towards the twilight of Shaq's career he would rest. And I remember Michael Jordan, some of his last season with the Wizards when he played in 2013, he rested every now and again, but that was because they assumed that he would get in the playoffs and he wanted to have fresh legs, but he wasn't taking games off, he was taking quarters off. You know, like Doug Collins would sit him for the second quarter and maybe like, you know, almost all of the third quarter if it wasn't so out of hand, then put him in the fourth quarter and his minutes would only be, you know, 30 something. But, you know, it's just funny that our modern day players that, in my opinion, don't get battered as easily as the old NBA used to with how physical it was, can't keep up with the regular season that's 82 games. And if it's back-to-back games, you know, because there's sometimes where you've got back-to-back games, one day off, back-to-back, so it's strenuous. That's the case, if you make the season shorter, you lose the money. But you don't want to shorten the season, but yet you're going to sit out games. It's just not really fair. As a fan that wants to see you, and I can't, it's kind of like, why am I watching?
Yeah, you're right. The fans, and I do want to say this, the TV providers, the ESPNs, the TNTs, they're getting screwed in this.
Yeah.
And it's not fair. And actually, the Clippers and Cavaliers game that you mentioned, Jeffrey Gundy, who's one of the analysts on ESPN who was doing the game, they talked about it during the game, and he was livid because he was like, we didn't know that they weren't going to play until, you know, 10 minutes before tip-off. And that's really not cool because you're expecting that you're going to have all this because you actually have to do research to be talking about some players, and now they're not playing, and you're like, well, what do we do?
And then here's the other thing, though. Then following night, they are still in LA, and they play against the Lakers. Now, no offense, I'm a Lakers fan. You're still a Lakers fan, but they play them. And I mean, this is what I don't understand. In my opinion, if you want to be competitive, you know, and again, it's two different conferences, and who knows, you know, maybe God's grace gets the Clippers to the finals, and then they meet the Cavs, you know, who knows. But, I mean, wouldn't you want to kind of play them and see where you're at and at least give yourself the mental edge over them? Because the Lakers, no offense, they're not making the playoffs. I mean, they're not going to knock you off the top spot or knock you out of the playoffs. So why not rest then? In my opinion, it's like, I get it, the rest, but pick better games to rest in between. You know, like if you've got a game coming up against Brooklyn, maybe just don't play that whole game. Maybe say, okay, after halftime I'm done, coach, because treat it like a preseason game then.
Yeah, I mean, to actually go off of what you said about the whole, well, you know, maybe the Cavaliers and Clippers might face each other. You kind of want to see what's going on there. But you could look at it on the other hand of, well, I don't want them to see what we're going to have. I'm going to throw whatever I want to throw at them, but they're not going to know what's going to come until we play in a game that really does matter, because technically the Cavaliers are in the playoffs. They're going to be in the playoffs no matter what. They can lose every single game. And if LeBron plays the Lakers instead of the Clippers, you don't have to try as hard. You don't have to push a lot of energy on that game. So if you get pulled, or if it's not that great of a game, it really doesn't matter as it is.
Yeah.
So you're okay with it. The Clippers, on the other hand, they might come at you a little bit more fierce, a little bit more powerful, because they got a little more firepower.
Yeah.
With the Lakers, you can go on a 12-0 run, and the Lakers will never catch up after that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. So, and I'm going to say this. I really, having said all that, and as a fan, it's really upsetting. If I were a coach, I'd be doing the same thing. I'd be doing the same exact thing, and the reason being is because I can.
Yeah.
I can rest them, and you know what? My job, I was not hired to win regular season games. I was hired to play the regular season, to get into the playoffs, to then win national championship, NBA finals.
Yeah.
To win an NBA finals. So my end goal is to have my guys be the best that they can be. And if I have to rest some guys, then I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I don't care if ESPN says, hey, you better do it, otherwise we're never televising the game again. I don't care, because you're going to have to televise me when the NBA finals are going on. That's exactly what I would do. So I don't blame the coaches for it. Honestly, I really don't. I don't blame the owners. I think it is the commissioner. He's made it a player-happy league, and I love Adam Silver. I don't want people to think I'm bashing him. I think he's
a really good commissioner.
Yeah, and I think he's right to make it a players league. But in doing so, you're putting the players in power.
Yeah.
And in turn, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
And the coaches are like, that's cool with me. If LeBron's going to rest on a Clippers game that could get pretty brutal, I'm good with that.
I just find it funny that ABC and child company of it, ESPN, shell out $24 billion to the NBA to televise these marquee games, such as the Clippers and the Cavs, such as the Spurs and Golden State. And none of the marquee players that they want to see are there. And I get it, as a coach, I would want to do the same thing as a strategy-wise, but last year when Pop did this, it kind of bit him in the butt, because that's when OKC knocked him out, because they just looked too sluggish, because they had rested so much. And yeah, sure, you got fresh legs, but you didn't have any momentum going into the playoffs. You just kind of were like now trying to get your legs back underneath you because you sat for so long. But in my opinion, it's just kind of out of professional courtesy. Yeah, sure, you're gonna get your job is to get them to win games and win championships. But also, though, if that was the case, why have an arena? Why have fans? You gotta find a way to make them happy too. And I get it, like, can't please everybody, but you've got people there that are literally spending hundreds, thousands of dollars to go see players, and you know who these players are, and you're gonna say, oh, this is a team sport, but you know who those players are you're gonna see, and you're gonna just not do that. And it's just kind of distressing, and it's kind of like meet us halfway. They treat it like a preseason game if that's the case. Play them for only 2 quarters. And then call that, at least get him some action in there. My opinion, but
the only thing that I can think of, and I actually am going to say that this is actually Chris Broussard's option for the NBA. He was on the herd earlier, actually yesterday, and I was listening to it. But they were basically saying that if you don't want this to happen, it's not necessarily it's because of the back-to-back games, but that's one of their excuses. Is
right.
There's a lot of games where they have back-to-back away games.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just the home games, but away. And in order to kind of separate those games a little bit more, you have to spread the season out a little bit more. You can still keep an 82-game season, which I am honestly okay if they shortened it. You're right, it would shorten up the money.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll ever do that. But if you kind of prolong the season a little bit more, even maybe space out, I mean, you don't want to do this, but you could even space out the playoff games, every other game where they kind of get rest of, Because honestly, you might get a better playoff game if you have a team that's a little more rested.
And what's funny is you say that though, because I was actually thinking in that first round, shorten it back to 5 games instead of 7 games. Because, you know, when you get that 4-5 or shoot even that 3-6 matchup and it pushes them to 7 games, sometimes you're waiting for that whole next series to happen and you can't because you've got that 6-7 game series, but you keep it to 5, you may pick it up a little bit, and then after 3 games you're done. You don't have to worry about a 4th game, so that could be an extra 1 to 2 days rest leading into the playoffs. I mean, that's what I would assume. And honestly, then, if the NBA is going to do the back-to-back where they're traveling to multiple cities on a back-to-back, like, you know, you got to play in Brooklyn one night and then go all the way to Seattle, or not Seattle, pardon me, to LA on the next night, you know, which there is a big, you know, jet lag factor to that, time zone factor. And that's the case, then shame on you, NBA. Maybe plan it out better. Maybe instead of going to New York and to LA, maybe have them go to New York down to, I don't know.
You go to New York to Indiana.
Yeah, something that's not that hard of a, or to Memphis, something that's not that treacherous of a cross-country travel. And that's something that could probably be fixed. But I think what also a problem is too is nobody here is, well, we shouldn't say nobody because it's still the middle of the season. We could see it in the offseason where we get some players and, you know, the NBA actually talking to see if they can find a resolution. Because you kind of alluded this to a very good point. Coaches and players, you know, they're going to do it, and really right now the NBA can't do anything about it, but they'll try to find a way, and I think they'll come up with a compromise because Adam Silver is a very player-happy kind of a person, and he wants to make them happy. I think he'll find a compromise, but it's not going to help the NBA if this keeps happening without some sort of penalty, without some sort of compromise. And it's just going to get people like me and like you or anybody else not wanting to watch the NBA on TV whenever it comes on. We're going to want to watch something else because, like, why would I bother? Nobody's playing that I know of, and I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to waste my time watching it. So.
Yeah, and kind of off the point of what you were saying right there is actually this year the NBA, after all the money that came in from the TV providers and stuff, this is actually the lowest ratings that they've had this season for the past like 2-3 years. So you know, the NBA numbers, they're down. I don't think it's going to be a big issue though. I think once playoff time, it's going to go right back up.
Oh yeah.
But also kind of what I wanted to say was I like the whole go back to the 5. I always felt like that was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
The argument against it is you won't have as many Oklahoma Cities beating San Antonio's, which in turn you got the you know the Thunder getting close to the playoffs, almost beating the Warriors, but ended up tanking. You know, you don't get that experience anymore, which honestly I think it actually improves it because now you have shorter games.
If you do it in the opening round though, like when all 8 seeds are there, I think you're fine because you know, if you do it in the semifinals or you know the conference finals. It's not really fair if you do 5 games because then that's when you're right, you can see a more competitiveness. I think in the first opening rounds of it where you have all 8 seeds available, I think that's where you can do the best of 5 and go from there. You know, because you know Cavaliers and Boston are probably going to go through their teams pretty quickly. You know, Golden State and Spurs will go through their teams, and then you can still see a good, you know, 4-5, 3-6 matchup. It just won't be 7 games, it'll be 5. Yeah. So you just have to. It'll just be a little bit more competitive. Give them an extra couple of days off to lead into the new series, and go from there.
So. I mean, I would say the first 2 rounds, because then you're going to get that 1 seed versus 8 seed. Just go 5 games, and then. The second round, you're going to get maybe a 1 seed versus a 4 seed at best.
Yeah.
Just do the 5 games on that too, because then you have the conference championship and then the finals, which are the games that everyone wants to watch. You have more of,
or we can piss everybody off and do it as the NCAA tournament bracket and just have 1 and done games. See the madness happen from there.
That would piss a lot of people off in the NBA.
You want to talk about brackets burning, man. Ooh, man.
I just want to thank all of you for watching again. Please subscribe to our YouTube page, which is Drew Code Sports Talk. And also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, which is Drew Code Sports Talk. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much for watching the video.